Welcome to the Voodoo Garden, everybody. My name is Ray. I will be your host today. This weird-looking man-of-war-looking thing is a tomato plant. And it's not just a tomato plant, it's part of a tomato plant. This is it. This is only part of one tomato plant. I was growing a tomato called Boxcar Willie outside, and I was just going to rip up the plant, harvest the tomatoes, and throw the plant away. But then I thought, you know what? You don't have to let it be the end of the growing season just because fall is here and the plants are going to start dying. If your plant is still alive, there's still time to do it. Take up your plant, take it up by the roots, and by the way, I did a video on the Praxis 55712 channel on how to uproot your tomato plant with a minimum amount of stress. And I'll put a link right below this video so you can see how I brought this one inside. You want to make sure you uproot it, spray it off with water to make sure that there's no bugs on it, prune it down, and I showed this on the other video. So check that out before you watch this. Then we bring this in. The first thing we're going to do is find out what size pot. This is ridiculous. That's not going to work. This one, no. Sorry. Although it is a nice shade of blue. This, I don't like this. I don't like it at all. You know, these are really beautiful pots that you buy at the garden center. And this is ceramic and it's got a drip tray built right in. These are really nice for small house plants, but you know, I don't like them at all, even though they look good. I don't like them because when it's time to transplant something, just try to get that plant out of here. You know, they say, oh, turn it over and tap it. Yeah, right. Been there, done that. No. Sometimes those roots hold on and you got to beat it with a mallet, and I don't like doing that. I like these because they're bendy and you can just like move it like that and it comes right out. There's a lot of dirt still in here. But anyway, for this tomato plant, I think this is going to be good. This is my 16-inch pot. A 12-inch pot is good, but 16-inch is a lot better. First thing I want to do, set it in water until it's time to transplant. That way it keeps hydrated, a minimal amount of shock. Let's start getting some dirt in here and get this thing transplanted before the tomato plant bites the dust. The pot that I use is a plastic 16-inch pot. Now, for those of you that have never seen my pots, they have a built-in snap-on drip tray. That way, when I water the plant, if I give it too much water, it's caught in this tray and it doesn't go all over my floor. So, if you do have a pot with a drip tray, that's better. If not, put something underneath it to catch the water, because sometimes, you know, we're not all perfect. You may overwater, and boy, do I do that sometimes. As far as soil, the best soil that I've ever come across for indoor growing is something that I make myself. I just use generic potting soil. You can use any kind of potting soil that you buy at the store. And I mix approximately, now it just depends on you, I mix in approximately, I'd say, half potting soil and 1/4 vermiculite. You can use perlite. I prefer vermiculite. It's a lot better for me. And 1/4 of something that's called Coco Peat or coir. Let me show you what that is. Oh God, it's just so freaking heavy. This is Coco Peat. This is a huge heaping brick, and this is a wonderful stuff. This is made from the shavings of coconuts. Yes, and what they do is they compact it and into a brick. And so if you break off a chunk and add water to it, warm water, and let it sit in warm water, and it expands. And this is wonderful stuff. It is non-acidic, like peat moss is acidic. It's non-acidic. It's wonderful for your plants. It makes the soil so that it doesn't clump up. It makes the soil so it doesn't hold too much water, but it holds enough water to keep it around the roots. It is a wonderful thing for growing your plants inside. I mix all of these together in a large pot, and then I have potting soil. And by the way, I've mentioned it before. Excuse me. Yeah, I've mentioned it before. If you grow plants inside and they die, you can reuse that potting soil. Throw it in with your main container potting soil and just keep reusing it, because as you grow things, microbes of all different sorts are going to start growing in your soil. A lot of the soil that you get in bags that, is kind of sterile. And so it doesn't have a lot of good stuff in it. The more you grow in it, the better it gets. So don't think that it's all used up, because we use organic fertilizer. Well, I use organic fertilizers to fertilize my plants. So this is a living, breathing growing medium, just like the stuff outside. Okay, let's pack it down just a little bit, not too much. And there is no real science to what I do. It's more art than science, I guess. I really don't have any perfect methods. I just do what I gotta do. And let's see. You know what? I want this to be down about to here and have just a couple pieces showing above the ground. So I'm going to put it like this. Not exactly like this. Not exactly like this. Because, you know, if a plant grows out of here, it's going to put a lot of stress on this branch. I want it to go approximately like that, so these branches are going up. So let's put the roots down like this. Now, by the way, when you bring this in with the roots, spread the roots out as much as possible. Don't worry about being too gentle with them. It isn't going to hurt them. I mean, come on, you just ripped it out of the soil. I think it's really been through the worst it's going to be through. Spread these out. And here's where it gets tricky. I have to multitask. Just dump it in, hold it in place, and gently throw in the soil and let it sift through the roots. You don't want to put all the roots together, otherwise they're going to be all clumped into the center, and you want them spread out so that they can move and send out new roots all over the place and take up the whole pot, not just the center, not just the outside. There. See how it's holding together? Not so difficult, was it? No, it wasn't, because if it was difficult, I wouldn't be interested in doing it. Easy peasy. Okay, where'd you go? Oh, there you are. All right, now I'm going to just sift this down with my fingers. And one thing that I always mention, don't pack your soil down. Remember the old rule. If you're pushing harder than it would feel comfortable on a closed eye, yeah, your eyeball, then you're pushing too hard. Because you don't want to hurt these things, especially when you're planting seedlings. You know, transplanting little seedlings. This one is an adult plant, so it's not really that awful important. I'm leaving a little bit of room for soil because as this grows, wherever it sends out new shoots, I have no idea where. Maybe here, who knows with the tomato plant. I'm going to leave a little bit of room for extra soil, and that way, once it starts growing, I'll bring in more soil and cover it up as it goes, and it'll put in even more roots. That is all we have to do, folks. Really very easy, wasn't it? Ooh, drew it all over me. Well, that means I did it right. Now we water it. Now when you water your plant the first time, you want to make sure there's going to be something underneath it aside from that drip tray, because sometimes you overwater. And if your soil is extremely dry, what will happen is water just plows right through it. So you want to make sure that you water a little bit, then walk away, and then come back and water it again maybe 5 minutes later. It gives your soil time to absorb it and to leach out sideways and all over the place. So don't just dump a whole bunch of water in. Take your time. Take your time. This is a process. This is not a race, okay? Stop. Enjoy yourself. This is the fun part. Now remember, we spread those roots out all over, so we don't want to just water right here. We want to water out towards the edge. Make sure it's evenly moist. And before you water your plant, it's a good idea just to educate yourself. You pick up the pot when it's dry, and that way you kind of get a feel for what it feels like. What I do is I lift it up like this. This is my way. I lift it up and I go, okay, it feels like that. That way, whenever it feels like that again, I know it's time to water. Yeah, it's just a weird thing. It's nothing special that I do. I just go, yep, you're a little light today, so I'm going to water you. And then we'll add some more water. And let me back you up a little bit. I'm going to show you what I do when I do my first watering to make sure I don't get any water on the floors, because I have a rug down here and I have hardwood floors. Not a good thing to have water. Let me show you what I do. For my first watering, I take another pot and I set it upside down. And then I set the plant on it like this. And that may look a little ridiculous to you, but it actually makes a little bit of sense. Ooh, spider web. This little lip right here, if this overflows and comes out of the drip tray, it's going to go down here and catch in this rim. I know it's not some kind of amazing, super secret thing that you need to know, but it's something that I do because I want to keep the water off the floor. I love doing this. I don't know why. And I do believe, I think it was 2.5 of these or something like that. Yep, I'm done. And that is really, I know it's super simple. It's super simple, but that is how I bring a plant in. You can do pepper plants if you want to do that. Uproot your pepper plants, dig around them, bring them up, shake off the dirt, and prune them back heavily. I know it looks awful when you do that, but you know what? Wait until you harvest your peppers, get them all off, prune them back, even if there are no leaves. Prune them back to the biggest stems, plant them, and you don't bury them as deep as you do a tomato, but plant them about maybe an inch deeper than where the roots normally start. Spread their roots out, give them some water, and here's the important thing, no matter whether it's tomatoes, peppers, or anything, do not put them in direct sunlight. Do not put them underneath bright lights right away. You want to give them a couple days to rest because they went through some massive shock. What they're going to do now is draw some energy out of these stems and out of their roots to put down new roots to adjust to their environment. The last thing they need is sunlight or heavy light causing them to want to grow. Otherwise, it just totally reverses the effect. They're going to try and draw energy out of their roots to feed this. And if they do that, the roots have no energy to put down more roots. It's never worked for me. So take my advice, if you want to have a good, healthy start on your plants in the wintertime, give them a couple days to rest, then put them underneath your lights, and they're going to be all set to go. That's all there is to it. All right, I got to go clean up my mess, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Voodoo Garden. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. I'm happy.